are dying or they're getting sick? Because it seems like that was connected to a lot of the reasons why certain trees weren't surviving, like they were dying off by this weird kind of fungus that was being, now we know that if there's radiation being leached into the soil or water sources have a heightened amount of radiation, this could be why these trees are being affected and also being killed off by this weaponized kind of radiation leached water that's affecting the health of the trees. Now, I just want to know if anybody knows that. I don't know for sure. It's when you make like it's kind of like a thought that I had. So can you please look, can you look into that for those who are in Pennsylvania? I know they're in maybe Connecticut, maybe upstate New York, Virginia. Those who have walnut trees, can you just, because I can't verify that. I can't verify, I just think so. Okay, so now let's go into 2023, because personally, like I said, y'all, it's still 2023 in my eyes. We aren't in 2024 until like March, the end of March. So personally, I accept that. I don't, the Satanist calendar, the Gregorian calendar is what I go by. The year, we're still in the year 2023. Okay, so now with all of the heightened amount of radiation, I noticed, and I used myself as a barometer too, that last week I wasn't feeling that hot. And I eat and really clean, and I grow. I have an aquaponic system in the house where I grow a lot of our herbs, and bok choy is going off. I like to grow bok choy. Bok choy is like my newest thing. And I noticed that I don't eat a lot of wheat. I do a lot of spelt and heirlooms, but like if someone buys something that's like a bread, even if it's organic, or like something I touch that has wheat sources in it, like pretzels or anything, I was getting really sick, like literally bloating up, like getting really bulky and bulking, like my face was getting chunky. Like if I had like pretzels, like some, and it's not spelt. They don't make spelt pretzels anymore because they used to. Newman used to make spelt pretzels that were soy free. Remember that, y'all? They took out a lot of food sources that were healthy for us out of Whole Foods. When Monsanto got in bed with Whole Foods, that's when a lot of our vetted spelt and heirloom grains started getting taken out of our options to purchase. One of the things I used to buy for my little ones was definitely the spelt pretzels by Newman's. It was soy free. Didn't have any soy lecithin as an emulsifier or whatever, and I used to buy that, but I stopped getting that. So occasionally I'll have like the old-fashioned pretzels. So I started getting really a lot of inflammation, and it was just crazy. And then many of you know, like I'm an on and off caffeine drinker, and I've talked about the fact that anything in the silos, I'm very cautious about things being stored in silos. Silos are the things that they store the corn, the oats, the rices in. Silos are like the biggest perpetuator of spores and fungi. That's why it's very important for you to rinse off your rice, to disinfect it, and also with your beans. Beans are in silos. Those are things that build like spores in them, and they're weaponized spores. Like those are the things that can cause long-term issues with your stomach, okay? So coffee also. If you're buying coffee from places, remember they're not doing the same things that we would do at home. So I decided, like last week, I was like, you know what? Let me just take the caffeine out. Let me take out any wheat, any kind of wheat, anything, because it's easy for me to do because I don't eat a lot of it. Anyway, took it out. Within 3 days, I talk about this all the time. I just started peeing, and then all of a sudden I like dropped 5 pounds. So I was like, holy smack. It's literally because, remember, I leave the country a lot. I'm always in and out of United Fakes, and I go inside the countries, and as soon as I'm there, I kind of thin out. I always had like a flatter stomach. And what's crazy about it is like as soon as I took out the wheat, all wheat forms, anything that has wheat, weaponized wheat, radiation wheat, I took it out, and then I took out the caffeine. As soon as I did it, my whole body kind of svelted down and slendered down, okay? So you have to think to yourself, I was like, oh my God. Because what causes that kind of inflammation also, and also causes forms of bloating and bulking, is radiation. So then I realized it may not even just be the wheat itself. It may be the water that is being used to grow these food sources, like rice and grains and all kinds of grains. They're using it. And even when you buy coffee, like now when I make my own coffee or I go to a place, I make sure that it's whole bean, and that it is mold free, it is mold free and pesticide free. It is very important for you to do that, because a lot of times when we go and get a coffee from other places, and also I think Dutch Brothers does that as well, there's a lot of coffee places that don't recognize that mold is on a lot of these types of coffees. And also bugs. Yeah, bugs are in coffees too. That's right. Masunk G. Absolutely. They have roaches in it. And then also they want you to eat bugs. So they're putting a lot of bugs. And a lot of you who have allergies to like shrimp or shellfish, you do know if you have allergies to shellfish, you're drinking coffee where they're milling the coffee and they're grinding it down and it has roaches in it. So you're getting allergies to it because you're having bugs the same bugs in the water, like the shrimp, are the bugs that you eat, and you're getting the same reaction. So this is the thing that, they're trying to put crickets and stuff. A lot of people have allergies to insects. You know what I mean? It's not like grubs in Africa where they eat it as a protein source. It isn't necessary. Like a lot of people have allergies to these things. So that's when I realized that I wanted to go back to studies talking about the weaponized wheat and the radiation. And then, lo and behold, you found these farmers who had been testing the wheat and found out that they had lots of radiation. And it wasn't so much from it going on the wheat itself. It was coming from the water sources. So the wheat in itself had radiation. And that's why all of these people are getting these weird kind of like, because remember, it's my opinion. It's not, and let me state this because what YouTube gets on me. I'm not a doctor. I am a comic. This is a skit. I'm mentally ill. This isn't true. This is a joke. This is not doctor's information. I'm a clown, okay? I got to put that in there because if I don't, And I will say this, is that as we go forward, we realize that these foreign entities who have absolutely no investment in the livelihood or the healthiness of a population that they're trying to take over have been weaponizing their newly found purchased agricultural land, where they're growing a lot of your stockpiles of wheat, beans, rice, all these things, and this is being distributed to all of us. And you wonder why your body is rejecting everything, or why you may eat something and your children are having weird reactions, skin reactions, and so on, because it's weaponized through radiation. How is it possible? And that's how you know, y'all, that this country, and I told you already, the country's been taken over by nefarious outside entities, okay? They're using this country as a launch pad for terrorism abroad, for doing things to their own people, for the society. And let me say this, I know a lot of people really are trying to go over to Texas, and they're really going to support, the people going over to Eagle Pass over in Texas. Let me just state this, y'all, it's a setup. Just like the September 6th or whatever, the January 6th with the Patriots going over to the White House, it is a setup. When they showed, it was a gentleman who showed the actual borders over there. They have military at one point at Eagle Pass, and then when you go down the road, there's all these openings all up in the so-called borders. They literally have borders that are come on, they have borders that are open, like gates, wide open. And then down the road, you see Eagle Pass with all this military presence. It's a front. And I personally think that they want to get everybody down there, because did you see what Xinhua's doing over in Taiwan area? So while they're making you look left, they are setting up shop on the right. So you're telling me you have all of these openings, all of these different areas in Texas, and you're just going to go and have everybody go to one point where there's multitude of areas that are open wide? Listen, the country's already been infiltrated, okay? And number one, if you remember I think it was last year, big up to the zombies. I think last year we saw that on the White House, they had upside down flag, which let's see who knows what that means. When the flag is inverted, do you know what that means? Let's see if you guys know what that means. Let's see if anybody knows what that means. When you see them put up a flag at the White House, what does it mean when the flag is upside down? They put it up. We saw it. Like, listen, zombies, we were up on it like white on rice. Distress, what else? Taken over. Yep, crisis, distress. Yes, absolutely. Mutiny, coup, we're at war. Absolutely. Do you know that they had that flag up and none of these clown? See, this is how you know, y'all. And you say that I'm a hater. It's not that. If all these people online are intellists, they're so-called truthers, they're whistleblowers, how come they didn't speak on that? How come you didn't see a lot of these whistleblowers? You see them making all kind. Oh, there's what's his name? Canadian prepper is talking about everything going on. How come he didn't mention that? Maybe he did. I don't think he did though. Okay. The fact of the matter is, you had that, and also we have foreign men in the White House now wearing their uniform from another country. You have Ukrainians right now who are inside of the White House, which your pooping president, your holographic pooping president, Kazoo, hasn't even been in the White House because he isn't allowed, because he isn't president. He's pooping all over the place. How come you have foreign nationals inside of the White House wearing their foreign uniforms? That means it's been taken over. You know that, right? Like, I saw the boots. I was like, that's not the United States uniform. And they actually had their actual uniform wearing from Ukraine. Okay? So for the fact of the matter is, I'm just giving a suggestion for those who are going over to Eagle Rock. I think they're going to spray you with all kinds of bioweapons. I think they want you all set up. If they wanted to hit, I told you they were going to smoke out the Patriots. They're smoking out the Patriots. I told you this 2 years ago. I said they're waiting to get the lunar men in one spot. And they going to spray y'all with a bioweapon. That's easy. What's this whole thing with X? And how come none of these bastards who are calling themselves whistleblowers, how come nobody's bringing up the fact that last year, big up to Nikki from Cali, who's in our group in Zoom. Last year, the Zombies and myself noticed that do you remember, let's do a little quiz here. Do you guys remember what happened on Chinese New Year's last year in California? Let's see if somebody remembers what happened. It was something happened on exactly Chinese New Year's last year. Can anyone remember? The Zombies who know, don't say anything. Let the others talk. Because we were just discussing it. Keep going. I'm waiting. Anybody? You already said. On already knows. Okay. So, yes, Melanin Magic and On. Okay, y'all got it. The Half Moon incident. Do you remember that there was a shooting inside of a facility with Chinese people? They were shot up by a rogue Asian man who shot up the people inside of it was a Chinese New Year's, which is like February 10th. Okay, shot it up. Do you remember that during a good 2 months after that, there were like 40 to 55-year-old Asian men that were shooting up other Asians, like farmers and stuff like that. It was a whole shooting thing, and it was all Asian men, middle class, from middle age, from 40 to 55. They called them the lone wolves. They were going up, shooting up other Asian people. We could not, for the life of us, Zombies, we were on it. How come none of your whistleblowers are talking about that? That's why I think a lot of your whistleblowers online are controlled opposition. They're really governmental agents acting as if they're working on a court. I really think that. They shot up places. Now, why is that important? You do realize that why is it that Twitter renamed their channel X? Why is it that the disease is called Disease X? Why is all this X coming into the lexicon of all of your major social systems, your channels online, the X? You know why? Because what date is the Chinese New Year's, y'all? Where the wood dragon is coming into the Chinese astrology. What date is that? Does anyone, don't say it. What date is the Chinese New Year's, y'all? Oh, Saba got it. The 10th. What is 10 in Roman numerals? What is the 10 in Roman numerals? Roman numerals, what's the 10? X. It's like a classroom, right? X. Okay, so you don't think it's odd that last year there was a big remember, you think that the Asian demographics doesn't do rituals as well. They have their own ritual system. They have their own magical system. You don't think that last year could have been a test run, like a beta test, to see if there could be something. I'm not saying that the people who were assassinated weren't done so for purposefully, but you don't think that was a beta test for sleeper cells that would be activated? Now, let's take in consideration, what does 11 usually mean? 11 usually means a gateway, right? Remember, 11 is like a gateway, a vortex, an opening. How is it that you're having the Chinese New Year's on X, on the 10th, Saturn Day? And you know a lot of murders and things happen on Saturn Day. That Saturn Day is a day you don't want to do many things because murders happen on Saturday. If there's going to be a murder, most of it will happen on Saturday. Saturn Day on the 10th is February 10th is the Chinese New Year's. But guess what's the day after, y'all? Guess what's the day after? Super Bowls. Super Bowls, y'all. So now you have a ritualized day that is connected to all these X's. Remember, all these Elon Musk and all of them, they talk to one another. This is how they use the language. They change the things because they're giving clues to their compadre, their Satanist compadres. Okay? So they're giving all these codes to each other. Now you have a ritualized day, which is February 10th, which kicks off the dragon, the earth dragon. We talked about this on Zoom, making sure that your feng shui was on point, okay? For the Zoomies, I will have I'll give the feng shui again of what needs to be done to remedy, okay? So on the ritualized 10, which is the X, it's going to be on Saturn Day. And then you have on the 11th, the Super Bowls, which is a predictive programming game. Remember, they're talking about everybody knew who was going to play in the game. You thinking about that? And then also, it's Super Bowls. There's something with a 13. Haru said it. Something else that has to do with the 13th, the day after. 49ers, which is a 13, which amplifies the 11th, y'all. Oh, 49ers versus the Chiefs, y'all, which is an amplifier because it's 49, which is a 13. So I'm just saying, y'all, if I had to think of a false flag and I had to really think about it, I would really say that the kickoff of the Chinese New Year's with the dragon, the Earth Dragon, might literally be the amplifier or the false flag kickoff that may happen on the Super Bowls. We got a lot of things going on at once. And you got Usher. Listen to his name, Usher of all people. So he's ushering the 1311 coming in the neck of the woods. I'm just saying, I could be wrong. I could be mentally ill. I'm not saying I know any better, but I'm just saying that's a lot of numbers that seem to be connected to the Satanist clues and little bits of puzzle pieces that they put out there. Now, if you didn't know what happened last year with the Asian rogue lone wolf, they call them lone wolves, these lone wolf Asian men that were shooting up places. And then you hear about the fact that I told you why you should have the purple lights, is that all of a sudden you have all of these Chinese Xinhua coming into the country, being set up all over the place. And this guy did an interview, big up to him. I think he was on Alex Jones. He talked to another Chinese guy that's set up in Panama City. And he asked the Chinese guy, he's like, is there a lot of spies and like terrorists coming in from China? He said, absolutely. This is their own people saying that. So really in itself, y'all, I would really pay attention to the X, which is a 10th. I don't know if it's I'm looking at the cylindrical pattern. We're in a simulation, we're in a simulation where things are generally looping, like, things come in a cylindrical pattern. I just denote last year, I'm looking at these fake channels with fake whistleblowers who never bring up last year. They'll probably bring it up after my channel because, they watch me. Big up to all the Agent Smiths who like to watch my channel. I'm such an antagonizer. So I'm just saying that X marks the spot, 10-10 wins, all that. I just, share. Yes, you're right. Leap year. It's another leap year too. So Super Bowls, is it energy? This is Lion Gate open season. Oh, like July 27. I'm chasing the X's. X marks the spot. I'm just saying we could just find out another week. When is it coming up, y'all? When's the 10th? The 10th is like in 1 week, right? We have like 1 week or 2 weeks. Huh? Yeah, we have like another week to go. Okay? I'm just saying, and then we got the Texas Eagle Run. So let's go into the weaponized weed. Be careful eating any of the food right now. You got the chinois all up in the water sources, okay? And did you realize what happened in, was it China? Oh, wait, I forgot about that. I forgot to talk about it. Wait a second. Darn, how could I forget to tell you that? You do know that there was this thing called rain asthma. It was in China. They were calling it asthma that was caused. And people were getting rain on them, and they were getting asthma reactions, like water in their lungs, like weird inhalation issues. And they were calling it rain asthma. It was happening in China. And then there was a person who did the research, and they found out it wasn't that the rain was causing it, it was the radiation in the rain that was causing people to have this reaction. So the fact of the matter is, radiation wheat, which is basically like having weaponized water, could be all in the water sources. And a lot of times when people are getting like coughs, the forever coughs, that's all forms of like fungi, like mold buildup. You don't realize you have a lot of mold in your system. Okay, a lot of the mold, and mold is amplified by radiation. A lot of spores go buck wild when there's a lot of radiation. So it's important for everyone to realize, be careful walking, and you've got to filter out your water. If you're still getting your water sources for Willy Wonka, all they got to do is, that's what I'm saying in the hood, y'all need to get out of the cities. Because listen, if you have the same, I remember years ago, and this is when real YouTube was really buck wild, like it was Bruck up in here, when you have real whistleblowers that were just not on here trying to sell their merch. The guy was like, yo, all they had to do is, if they didn't like you and your people, all they did was they closed off one pipe and they put certain kind of water into certain neighborhoods. So as long as they can control the water sources and where water goes, they can bet very much, that's why they don't want you having rain barrels. That's why it's illegal for you to start a well without getting permission from your governmental systems. You cannot go and tap your well. You know how easy it is to tap a well? Big up to all my preppers up in here. It is real easy. I've got the 8-foot well. There's a wonderful lunar woman. She is so cute. She's out in she has like a triangle house. Some of you may know her. I forgot her name. She's really cute. I like to watch her sometimes. She's like my guilty pleasure. She goes out in like the woods and she taps her own well. She's so cute. She's like a little blondie, cute little sassy little thing. She goes out and she taps her well. She made it, and then she got a pump on it too. She did it all by herself. I'm sure but she did it, and she put a filter on it. Do you know how easy it is to do that? But guess what? Willy Wonka in his League of Doom said it's illegal for you to go and tap your own well. And you do know you can go into free springs. It was Akashic. I think it was you, Akashic. I don't know if Akashic is here. Akashic was the one who told us there's a site. Does anyone know the site? It's like you can find out all the spring water that are tapped, and you can go and get free water from them. Oh yes, does she? No, she doesn't have dreadlocks. She's like a little blonde, a little cutie pie. She's so adorable. Like, I don't know if she's like in her 50s and 60s. She's not young. Find a Spring. Thank you, Empress. You can actually go to Find a Spring, and you can go and find it and go fill up your water bottles. FYI, okay? And those aren't controlled by Willy Wonka, and you can test them and everything. But what I would do is I would really encourage everybody to test your water for radiation now. Just like we tested the walls, that you test the walls, now you have another form of testing that I would just really challenge you to do. Get your radiation testers and test your water for radiation before, even if you tap it and get it from a free spring. Find a spring. Thank you, Empress, and thank you, Survive L3. There's a thing, because Akashic had told us about it. I think it was Akashic. I think it was. Find a spring and make sure that you go and get your own fresh water. It's springs all over the place. I really think, wait, you watch her, She's of the Woods. Great info. I love her. She's like one of, it's her. It's her and another, remember, I like Itchy Boots. Y'all, I'm a Sag. I like to watch one of the Sages. Like, they're very Saggy energy. I like when they go and do all this. I like to see women go and do stuff like that. It's like I enjoy it. I'm really encouraged, and I love doing that. I like watching them. Anyway, if you see her channel, if somebody can, I don't know her personally, I just love her channel. She goes out there and she goes and taps. When I saw how easy it was for her to tap a well, y'all, I was like, what the freak? No wonder they won't let us do it. It's illegal. They don't want you having your own personal water source, because that means you aren't going to be as easily influenced when they're pumping chemicals and poisons all up in your water and cucarachas. Because a lot of times you got to think, when you see a whole bunch of, why are they able to test all the they're always able to test all the sewer water, so they could tell if they're getting the right dose of poison up into people, because they test the sewer water, and they can really define it to certain areas. They can specify it to certain areas. I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, y'all. But listen, the United States is illegal right now. It is broke up right now. Texas, let me give a shout out to my Texans. Y'all about to secede, or I already know you did, but just for the facade of you seceded now. Big up to all my Texans. That's why all the corporations were moving to Texas. Do you remember that, y'all? But where are your Intellis? Remember, like 2 years ago, all these corporations were moving up into Texas? Do you remember that? Right? Remember when they were all moving to Texas? We're like, why are all the corporations? You know why? Because they got the FYI, y'all. They knew that they were going to secede. So they got the bulletin. And I'm not telling you to move to Texas, but I'm just telling you, from my understanding, Texas already seceded. And they got their own cursing going on. And also, I heard word on the curb. That's from Alicia. I didn't get that phrase. That's from Alicia. Word on the curb is that Russia, the BRICS, and Mexico are all working together with Texas. So Texas already got his homeboys and homegirls working on their accord. And I heard word on the curb is that Florida is down as well. But I don't know. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? I'm just a maniac. Let me just say this again. I'm a maniac. This is a skit. This is a comedy. I'm not truthful. I'm a liar. I'm crazy. I'm mentally ill. I'm dummy. I'm stupid. I just got to put that in there. I got to put these little things in here. Okay? Because, when they come for me, I got to say, well, I told you it was a comedy skit. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that. Anyway, so what I would say to everybody, I would be really mindful the radiation water. And literally, when I heard China had a town where they were actually naming it, they called it asthma rain. And then the person tested it and found out it wasn't that the rain was causing asthma. It was the radiation in the water molecules causing the people's bodies to react as if they were exposed to radiation. So I just, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying, if you go out in the rain, I would cover up. Remember our old school our umbrellas? Oh, I loved it. I was a little girl. Remember our umbrellas were they looked like little, clear colored, they looked like you were in a little tunnel. I forgot what they're called. Remember our umbrellas, I loved it as a little girl. I forgot what it's called. Our umbrellas were like little flutes. They looked like they were bowed in. I have one in the car. You better put on them radiation rain suits. And don't you think it's odd that all these places were raining at one point? Now listen, I also want to bring up the fact that during that whole time where California was getting tons of rain, there was a homeboy who was growing, was it apricots? No, it wasn't apricots. It was some sort of, it wasn't dates. It wasn't apricots. Was it apricots? I don't know what he was growing. I can't remember. Bubble umbrellas, VK. You remember that? I remember as a little girl. Remember that? I loved it. I got one in the car. Okay, so he was growing apricots, and he noticed that during the time or figs. I think it was figs. I don't remember, y'all. Anyway, he was in California at the time, and he said he went outside after it rained, and it burned. It had burn marks on his fruit. He said after it rained, like acid rain. You got to think what acid rain really is. Is it chemicalized rain, or could it be a form of radiation? Because radiation has kind of it had burn marks as well. So I'm just saying, y'all, listen, the radiation wheat, it's my opinion that they're radiating the food. And there isn't any way, because you know I'm a thickums. And I told you I'm getting in shape with my homeboy who's going to work me out. Because I told you I'm going to listen to the men to work me out like G.I. Jane. I'm going to be G.I. Fleur Brun. He's going to make me do some calisthenics. Big up to him. Calisthenics. I can't do pull-ups yet. I'm at least do a couple pull-ups, okay? I'm getting in shape because I told you we gonna be like the purge. You could be running. Run, Fleur, run. You know what I mean? So I'm getting in shape for this. But there isn't any way that you should be able to lose 5 pounds of pure inflammation and water weight. There isn't any way. You know what I'm saying? How are you losing that weight? Because as soon as I stopped, you lost 30 pounds. Congratulations, Marshmallow. You're going to have to change your name, Marshmallow. You're not going to be Marshmallowy anymore. Big up to Marshmallow, who lost 30 pounds. Go ahead. Don't say lost. You shed. Because when you lose something, you always find it back. I learned that from words the other day, right? Be careful saying lost, because that means it could be found. You shed. Congratulations, Marshmallow. You shed it. Go ahead, Mama. Go ahead. Let's not forget the frog. Listen, I'm still a trans frog, but I'm going to be translucent in a minute. You ain't going to be able to see me. You know what I'm saying? Calisthenics is better to do. I think calisthenics in itself is better for the body, especially for women's sport. So, you know, forms of calisthenics, I'm a dancer. So, doing like Pilates gives you the best body, and dancing. Swimming is a great thing as well. I think for women, we got to be very careful in how we engage with our body. In calisthenics, you actually build better muscle. It's like more long muscle, and it helps you burn. So I'll be doing that. You know what I mean? I gotta listen, y'all. I gotta try. You know, I'm thick, but I gotta be able. You know, it's cute to be thick when you can lie on the couch and just enjoy yourself. But when you got I gotta be a little quick. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be able to run up some stairs and get on a bike. So you know, being thick at a point when you going into war times. That isn't that ain't the right thing to do. So I just say that everyone be really careful with your water sources. I would really, because most people filter out their water with certain things, but are you filtering it out from radiation? Like, that's another conversation. We're going to have that conversation on Thursday on Zoom. Can you put that in the conversation? We're going to find ways to avert radiation that comes through the waterways. There's a way to do it. So I'm going to have to figure out, what to do. We always figure it out. We got to figure it out. And also on Thursday, who's ever joining in, we're doing because we know on the 10th, they're probably going to do a ritual on the 10th and 11th. We're going to do our protection ritual with our candles. So whoever's joining us on Thursday, that's what we're doing. So just I'll have everything that you need to bring in, because we got to do that. Because listen, the 10th after last year, the kicking off the New Year's, and this is a dragon. Shungite, good idea. Nicole has a good idea. Shungite, that's right. Zombieland rule. There's this guy does this. I don't know where he does it. I love this. You guys see it all the time, right? They have these great classes. I like to dance. I love dancing. There's these dance. I think it's in Atlanta. You guys have the best. Let me big up to Atlanta, Georgia. I get jealous. Let me tell you. Can I confess something? I'm really jealous. Y'all have like the hair washers who like put the steam on your hair and the herb bath, and then you guys have the workout classes where these sexy guys are like doing dances, and you do like hip hop when you're doing a step. I get jealous of y'all. Did I ever tell you that? I am. I'm really, really jealous. I see it. I'm like, why the heck didn't I move to Georgia, for God's sake? Maybe because the men are, and he was masculine. He just made you want to work out. You see him, like, some of you know what I'm talking about, right? When the guy makes you do the dances. Oh, also, back in the days when we had copper pipes and also silver pipes, that also averted the radiation in the water. Thank you. Some of you have some great ideas. Yeah, so whoever's in Atlanta, Atlanteans, y'all got some fun stuff going on over there. That's the only thing we had some good stuff, but Atlanta people like to have fun. Yeah, you look real masculine, but I didn't say he was masculine. He just looked masculine. You never know. I mean, Atlanta got some things going on over there because they putting stuff in the water source. I talked about the gay bombs. Y'all get insulted. Look it up. See, the problem is that you think that I'm disrespecting you because you're a gay man. That has nothing to do with it. But if you found out the only reason that you're gay is because they weaponized water and chemicals to bring in that disposition within you in your mother's womb or outside the womb. So don't get mad at the messenger. I would sue the government. This is my personal thing. If you are a homosexual male and you live in Atlanta or places where you feel like your mother was being, or Flint, or your mother was being chemicalized and your disposition, I would, and mothers, if you have a gay son that's 20 years or a little, like up to 30, I would sue the government. Because I'm telling you that they have those things. They did them in Afghanistan. They did it in Vietnam. They did it in a lot of places. You just think I'm saying it to be disrespectful. It isn't the natural disposition for men to be with other men. That is a fact. It isn't the natural disposition. But when you have it at a heightened amount, like when a number is like boasted up out of the blue, you know that it is most likely being helped along with some form of bioweaponry. Just call, you can look it up. You can look at them and see what they've done. So you just really in itself, you have to understand there is an incentive to having men being with only other men. First of all, it's for population control, because they're not having babies, okay? And also, it makes men more feminine and less likely to protect their tribes or their neighborhoods or to protect their own children. So it just works for the government. So that's what I'm saying, them pushing it, you have to realize I'm not attacking any gay men, but I'm telling you, if it is working in accord with the agendas of the government, you gotta ask the question, why? Gotta ask the question, why? It isn't a natural propensity for men to be with other men. And also, if you look at the men that are very feminine, they have big bum bums, they have breasts. That means that they've been chemicalized as some sort of bioweapon that have actually changed their physicality. Men shouldn't have big bum bums. Even brown men, they have muscular bum bums. Listen, I grew up with men that are very masculine. Okay, so our men in the parks, like when they used to play basketball or sports or football, they had nice, round, bums, but very masculine, like very muscular. Like thighs were muscular. Woo! I love growing up in Generation X, y'all. We used to go to the park, and that was like a buffet. Woo! Thank God my parents raised me with some ethics, boy, because the men used to have no shirts on. It smelled like pheromones. You just, oh my God, as a young teen girl, boy. It was like, big into Generation X, when we used to go to the park, when guys used to play sports outside without their shirts. Holy, especially you beautiful brown men. Y'all are like, I love y'all. You're just the most beautiful men in the whole wide world. You are. Looking at y'all in your prime. The smell of your pheromones, you coming all glistening, you know what I'm saying? Your stomachs were rock hard, shoulders all nice and stern, your legs, sometimes you got that basketball, some of you used to have bow legs. I'm sorry, y'all. Call me a little, I miss those days. I'd call me what you want. That's why when you call me a lesbian, I'm like, you just don't know. Sitting there watching, as a young girl, I didn't even know what my body was going through when I smelled y'all playing sports. Like, we would just go and sit and watch sometimes on the bleachers while y'all was smelling like y'all playing basketball, and just hearing you, like, the sneakers like sketching on the court, watching you jump and seeing the sweat glisten down your back. Woo! And I know my Luna girlfriends too. You remember the guys used to play hockey and stuff? Listen, I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. If there's children on here, I apologize. I was just having a flashback. I don't know. I don't even know if you guys see that. Do you guys see that anymore? Maybe I'm not in that age range. Do you guys actually see Fleur Brun after dark? Do you guys actually see men play basketball like that anymore? Is that happening still? Because I grew up in Mount Vernon. It was at Hartley Park. Anybody see that anymore? No? Oh, darn. Darn. Well, we had the best childhood. Listen, y'all. We had specimens. That's why they had to feminize our men, because they were just like the best specimens ever. Woo, boy. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, let's change the topic. I can't. Hormones, you know. Oh my God. Anyway, so we're talking about the water and all of the actual infiltration. So I'd say this. I would be mindful, and I love some of the suggestions that everyone stated on here to try to avert from the radiation, but I really challenge you, because I could be wrong. It's my opinion. I could be wrong. I would test your water for not just chemicalization or you know, forms of like mold. I would really test for certain kind of molds as well. You can do testing for that. I would test things. And also for those who are still engaged in eating all kinds of things that come from silos, like rice, you should be washing your rice. You already know your beans. You should be washing. Oats are the most toxic because they have oats. That's why you have a lot of infiltration with oats. Oats have a lot of, especially spores, because they get a lot more moist. So oats, you got to be careful too. So I just would be careful with a lot of the things that are in silos. Pay attention to that. Also for your little ones. Mommies, for those of us who had little ones, make sure that with your little boys, we suggested this, with little boys, you have to make sure we don't let them have certain kinds of water bottles or things that have a lot of estrogen. Make sure that they're eating things kind of like, because with boys, because of the way that they're set up, make sure like if you're doing a meat, doing it from a more holistic place, farms that don't give their animals soy. It's very important, more than anything for boys, to make sure that your sources of meat for them and eggs are coming from sources that aren't engaged with soy. You can purchase them. They're going to cost you a little bit more, but you're going to have a very masculine little boy growing up who's going to have natural propensities. And don't let the educational system feminize your son. The fact that he doesn't want to sit in a chair all day, please don't label your children as ADHD, as not being able to sit still. A natural, healthy boy doesn't sit still in class for 8 hours. Doesn't need it. And then glass bottles. Thank you, A2. Glass bottles I bought glass bottles when I was pregnant. Glass bottles for the babies are great because if you're nursing, it's fine. But make sure even nursing moms, you have to refrain from eating things with soy because that soy leaches into your milk. So make sure if you're nursing as well, you think that you're safe. You filter, your breasts filter out most of the milk, but you want to make sure that you're also getting proper nourishment that's soy-free while you're nursing, especially little boys. Okay? So make sure you're doing that. And definitely everybody needs to get their iodine up to par. You could test your iodine. We talk about it all the time in Zoom. That's important for you to do. Paying attention. Okay, if you want little masculine little boys, then you have to, as moms, you cannot go to Walmart and expect to get your children healthy food from Walmart. Okay, Walmart is the biggest pimp pusher of soy. Okay, so going to Walmart because it's cheaper, it's going to be more expensive overall when you have little children that have other issues. Okay, skin issues, hair issues, that has a lot to do with the weaponized food. And you can go and source out meat places, go to farms. I know they're attacking the Amish. If you have access to Amish farms, save up your money. Stop buying like clothing from Temu. We talked about the nanofibers in a lot of these cheap clothing. You guys are going to like Temu, Shen. You know what companies? Those are coming from Xinhua. Why would you buy any clothes from China? You shouldn't buy anything that's sourced from China. They have nanoparticulates in the actual fiber of the clothes. And please do not put non-organic fiber on your little boys. I'm telling you, moms, someone said they can't afford it. Yes, you can. You listen, as mothers, it is the natural directive of us as parents to want the best for our offspring. That's your future. That's your grandbabies. You take the time, like, oh, maybe you can't do certain things, but that's not the point. But you make sure your son will be healthy and your daughter's healthy for the long term, so your grandbabies are healthy. You remember, your little girls are carrying their eggs. So remember, us as mothers, when we carry our little girls, we carry 2 generations. I carry my daughter and I carry my grandchildren because she has her eggs. You have to make sure that the girls are healthy. They aren't doing weed and all that stuff. Weed is why most men are actually feminine, actually now. They chiefing all the time, and chief is a feminine plant. They're taking all that, and it's causing health, and they're Their wands aren't working. Listen, I talked to a mom the other day. Her 17-year-old boy has problems having a full-on erection. Now, you say, why does a mother? Of course she would know that, because her son is concerned for his health. He goes to the doctor, and the doctor's not telling him. He's not telling him, don't put your laptop on your lap. Don't put your cell phone. The doctor is another form of mind control programming agenda. He's not going to tell you the things to do. A lot of these young boys are putting their cell phones and their laptops on their genitals, and it's causing problems. And then if they took the Kukarachi shot, it causes circulation issues. So it's not going to get all pumped up like normally with blood, because there's a lack of circulation. A 17-year-old boy shouldn't have an erectile dysfunction. He shouldn't have ED. And a lot of men are getting it younger and younger because they are eating soy, latent food. They're taking a lot of these drugs, these painkillers, all of these type of weaponized drugs over the counter. So it's causing nerve damage and also circulation issues. It's very important. Like, I shouldn't be like, this is why I say, be careful the people you go online. You don't hear men talk about that. You'll hear men talk about doing drugs, mushrooms, taking more drugs, smoking more chief. They're proud of it, but they don't tell you that their women are, listen, their women are dissatisfied sexually. I talk to some of the women of some of these men online who tell you to do mushrooms and tell you to do all this marijuana and smoke online. A lot of them can't even get their Johnsons up. Their wands aren't working. They won't tell you that though, but the women will tell us. We have to stop. We have to stop uniformly promoting drug use. Drug use is why a lot of our youth are mentally ill, and they're physiologically aren't as strong as their grandfathers are. So when you keep pushing a culture of marijuana and pushing a culture of all these psychedelic drugs, they don't tell you that when you do all this ashwagandha, what's that stuff? Not ashwagandha. What's the stuff they do? Oh God. That psychedelic thing they do. I forgot what it's called. What is it called, y'all? You know the psychedelic thing they did? I mean, I got attacked. Ayahuasca. Thank you, Yafi. They don't tell you that doing those things long term cause ayahuasca. Like, you'll tell people will promote it all over the place, and then they don't tell you that years later people are suffering from mental illness, or that sometimes what it causes is like an opening into the orifice part of their brain that ends up making them depressed later on. A lot of these people keep promoting it. I would just question any channel that is promoting constant drug use. It's very sad. Ayahuasca wasn't intended to do regularly. And also, the fact of the matter is, it was an invitation that the plant kingdom would give to you, not you to it. So you have a lot of this whole culture of drugs, but they don't tell you, like the men are not telling you the genitalia is not working. Their wives are telling you. They're pushing for all kinds of men to have multiple women when they aren't able to satisfy one. Men don't even know the difference between giving a woman an orgasm and not. That's really sad. Back in the days, a man would know if we had an orgasm because he could feel it. And it wasn't just in the way that we acted, because a lot of women could fake the funk. It was the way that we put off an energy so he could register it, because he was in tune with himself. His higher mind was working. A lot of men are having sex out here, and women are, why do you think a lot of women want to be with other women? Because they're not having orgasms. I'm sorry. I hope there's no children on here, but it's a fact. You know, so men, I'm just telling you, like, women, we got things going on too, but men, really, what's going on also with y'all is that you've got to be more connected to yourselves spiritually. Because if you are young now, yeah, you're 20 something now, you may be working, but when you get to like 35 and 40 and your Johnson doesn't work, a lot of men commit suicide because they used to always having this facade of masculinity and using their wand as a tool to prove that they're masculine. When your wand stops working, you don't even know who you are anymore, because that's been the only perimeter of your masculinity. That's the only measure of who you are as a man. And then when it stops working, a lot of men want to commit suicide. And a lot of the suicide rate is really spiked right now because the Kukarachi shot had really caused inflammation and caused circulatory issues, and a lot of men's Johnsons aren't working. You know it's true. The C-stars on here know, because we talk. And it's unfortunate because men won't go and get help because they're embarrassed. And this is something we need to discuss. Fathers, discuss this with your sons. Mothers, discuss this with your husbands and your sons. It's very important. Our health matters. And if these are conversations that you feel really uncomfortable having, don't have children. Don't have children. Don't bring children into a world if you're uncomfortable having a basic conversation of their sexual health. You know what I mean? That's important. I think it's important. Like those are conversations we all have to have. And because we're in an environment of toxicity, women also are having fibroids. They're having issues with their periods. Menses is coming. It's not coming. A lot of women are having issues as well, and it's because of this radiation and all of the chemicalization of foods. We can't just go out and have like a hamburger and fries anymore and be like, oh, we could just do that every other day and we'd be okay. It isn't like that anymore. The hamburgers and fries are all tainted with all kinds of stuff. Like the way that we used to have fun or have food, like we used to, that those days are over. You have weaponized food that are being weaponized and grown and distributed by hostile foreigners who are basically killing off your reproduction. And it's affecting not just men, it's affecting women. And it's important for us, like if you like certain foods, make it all yourself, make it from scratch. Like we were talking about chocolate. If you like chocolate, I like chocolate only, when I get my menses. Like that's the time that I crave it. It's the only time I crave it. Make sure you make it yourself. It's so easy to make it with like cacao. You can make it and you can make it yourself. Make a lot of the things for your boys. If mommies, if you have sons, take the time to make everything from scratch. Like our grandmothers did, our mothers did. It's very important because we're going to have children that are really depreciated and won't be able to reproduce and give us grandchildren. And then you're going to regret that this conversation wasn't had. It's very important. You know what I mean? And because a lot of these channels, all of the things that are being pushed into the algorithm, that we're hearing all of these things, but all these channels that are unwavered and are being pushed, they are controlled opposition. They're controlled opposition. A lot of them, that's why you won't hear certain things. They won't ever talk about, and and that's why I say I love men. The fact that you say I love men, I love functioning men. A young man should be functional, and you should want your males to be happy and thriving. If you aren't having these conversations and you're just going to Walmart or the grocery store and getting basic, a lot of starch food, males do well, like even more paleo. Like if you want to get away from grains, like the same way I buy my dogs grain-free food, grain-free, why would we eat grains when it's being weaponized? You can go and get fresh Amish meat or meat sources that I've given before. I won't give them before. You can look them up. Places that are not, they're not putting vaccines in their stock of meat. They're not putting steroids in their meat. They aren't feeding their cattle corn and soy. If you're eating any food meat source and feed them corn and soy, which is all of your Walmart meat sources, that is going to translate between when you consume it and what it does to our bodies. And I told you what it did to mine. Like just the fact that they're putting coffee when you go and get your coffee, and if you don't get a full bean and they're not watching for mold or for pesticides, a lot of the coffee is causing issues. So I had an issue, an allergy to the coffee based on the fact that it was already ground. It probably ground out with bugs and whatever have you, and chemicals and mold. Yeah, what happened? We used to go to the butchers. Remember back in the days, the West Indians still do that. Like if you go to like West Indian neighborhoods, Spanish, a lot of them, like in Brazil, we go to butchers. A lot of the time when you go to the grocery store in Brazil, the supermarkets in Brazil, they all have the butchers in the back of the store. So you generally will go, like even with Colombia was like that. Colombia, Mexico, I think is like that too. So it's very important. Oh, the graphene oxide. Oh, Jennifer's already getting, the graphene oxide is in meat as well. Yeah. And there's a way to get that out though. I found a way to do that. Halal stores are good as far as making sure the meat isn't unhealthy spiritually or traumatized. But halal doesn't take in consideration, chemical free and so on. So halal does certain things, but it doesn't mean it's organic or soy free. So it's like, be careful. You have to ask. You really have to ask. And a lot of times they don't know. If they don't know what the feed is, then obviously you shouldn't be purchasing it there. We have to be the change we see in the world. If you and yourself, you say to yourself, I want better. We have to do it. We can't expect, like, you can't expect your teacher to teach your children values and morals and ethics. You can't expect your teachers to teach your children facts. They are weaponized social systems of MK Ultra. They are only going to teach the core. It's not like the teachers back in the days that would give you core and then they give you opinion. They bring in some of the things that they liked, and some of them. That isn't the case anymore. Schools are weaponized with socially engineered information totally to make your children into drones and worker bees. Okay? That's their total motivation. The only education that should truly be of value is what you give to your own offspring. Whenever my children know things about historical accounts, I teach them that. That isn't a responsibility for the teacher to teach my children anything. It's my responsibility as a parent to give them information. That's how you chronologically give information generation to generation. If you allow others, especially hostile people who don't like your nationality, who don't like your color, who don't like your people, to teach your children, then you are basically teaching children. That's why a lot of men don't mate people who look like their mothers anymore. Because they've weaponized the system to make men attracted to those that are the opposite and also come from weaponized backgrounds. So now you have men mating with women that are genetically hostile, mating with genetically hostile cellular memory type of women, and those children will come out to hate themselves. So it's important for, even in the mating, like the perpetuation of who should mate with who, that should come from you. And mommies, when we're healthy and we're happy and we tell our sons that we love them and we give them kisses and hugs and tell you how we value them, you know who they're going to choose when they get married? Do I have to tell you? Do you have to tell you? My brother chose his wife, and she looks almost like my mom. My cousins chose wives that look like my aunties. When you treat your sons well and you value them and you care about their feelings and you don't just tell them, I pay the bills in here, that makes them feel like they're not valued. Like that, especially in the hood, when you tell them that they're not paying the bills, that you make them feel like they aren't valued. You have to give the love to your boys. A lot of moms are very abusive to their boys, especially in the hood. And these boys go out and get women that look the opposite of their mothers. And that has a lot to do with how the women show value of themselves in the household, and also how the women aren't showing and displaying love to their sons. And, that translates. And mothers, if your sons are getting with women that look the opposite of you, everything the opposite, it says something about you. It says how he feels about you, how he feels, how you raised him, how you gave him love. I'm not saying it's in every case scenario, but my lunar girlfriends, they choose men that are very similar to their fathers, like I did. I choose men that look very similar to my father. I love my daddy. I love the way my dad looked. I love my family. I love my complexion. I love my hair texture. I love my body shape. I pick a man that was very similar to my family because he treated me like, my dad treated me like a beautiful little girl. He treated me like, he gave me such reverence. There wasn't a man who could have told me how much he loved me other than my father. So I chose men who remind me of my father. So I'm just saying, like, this is not for me to dictate who you should, but I'm just saying, like, when you start seeing sickness showing up, it usually shows up when people trying to remedy themselves by getting with other people who they feel can remedy some of the pain or insecurity or self-loathing that they had or their mothers suffered from, or fathers. So I'm just saying, it's important for everyone we got to get it up right now, y'all. We got a lot of things going on. You got Texas, you got a false flag brewing in Texas. I hope y'all in Texas, be careful. You need to wear a gas mask going out here. If you want to go represent Texas, you better go wear yourself a gas mask. Because that's a setup in the making. Just what they did in January 6th or 7th. I think it was January 7th or 6th. Remember what those patriots went over to the White House? Okay? That was a setup. That was purposefully done. And do not think that you have which politician that's going to work on your accord, whether it's holographic pooping President Biden or it's Trump. Remember, they all in the same arena. Now, they're attacking Trump. So it makes me think that It could be an illusion, a setup to make him martyr him, to make him more likely to be voted in, because sometimes they'll do the controlled opposition. But I will tell you, look at who his daughter married. I always listen, I don't look at just the front. I look at the back. Because a lot of times people be like this. Remember this? What was it, Yayo? He was like this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Meanwhile, you looking here. Why aren't you looking behind them? I always look like, even with family dynamics, I don't necessarily look at what you present as, because you could present, this could be a representative. It could be all different than what you have going in the background. I look at what's going on in Trump's family, who his daughter married, what social system is being set up in the background. That's how I know. I don't ever look at the front. That's a New York thing too. You sit on the sub, like if I'm driving a car in New York, especially in Brooklyn, big up to Brooklyn. But we were raised like that. I'm driving in Brooklyn. If I see a guy in front of me doing something crazy, what's the first thing I look? I look in my rear mirror to see if somebody's coming behind me to do something crazy. So when I see somebody doing something crazy in the front, the first thing I've been taught to do is look at my peripheral and look at my back, because that's usually when you really see the real. Okay? The distraction doesn't mean that that's what they want you to focus on. But what's going on is really in the back layer. So that's why when I see Texas being highlighted, go 700,000 going to Texas, I'm thinking to myself, how come no one's listening and looking over in China, posting up on Taiwan's water, encroaching on Taiwan's water, posting around Taiwan right now, encroaching on their water, and nobody's talking about it. So meanwhile, we looking at Texas, but nobody's seeing how China's posturing right now. And also, remember that whole thing when we heard Alexa say that the World War III would be kicked off with China and sleeper cells coming to kill everybody in their houses? Starting in February and March? Well, holy cow, we got the Super Bowls happening on the 10th. We had that false flag happen with them lone wolf Chinese men killing off people, kicking off last year during Chinese New Year, first on the moon celebration. If I was a betting woman, I would say that's who's going to kick it off. So I'm just saying, y'all, so I don't want to keep you too long. I hope this was helpful. Just pay attention. And I come over here and I'm really a representation of mothers with children because a lot of people say, why do you still come on YouTube? Remember, I came on YouTube before YouTube was a advertisement whore. Okay. I came on here with some really amazing, valuable people, that were encouraging because they were just sharing from their own perspectives. I come on really as a representation because I remember like Dr. Blair, Dr. Jewel Prookman, Dr. Lele Africa, which was like my professor's friend, Professor Jeffries. And let me say this, for anyone who's from CCNY or from Columbia University, please, I know that one of the Sun Stars and Sun Stars alerted me to Dr. Jeffries needing some assistance. If someone knows Dr. Jeffries, I would love to donate to him to help him out. He was my professor, and I feel really sad that I heard he's not doing too well. And he really needs help. He's older. We have to help our elders, y'all. I think it isn't enough for us to take the information and really revere these people and then allow them to die alone in their houses and not help them. I think it's our responsibility as their communities to really protect those who really brought us up, who raised us up. So if anybody knows Professor Jeffries, you know something about him, if you can give me a donation site and I can have people donate for this man was amazing. And the reason why I speak so eloquently, how I really had a mind that expanded further, and it was only one course I took with him, it was because of Professor Jeffries. And I really would love for him to, and all of our elders to really be taken care of. We shouldn't expect that other people should do it. It's our community, it's our responsibility, and I want to definitely make sure that our elders, while they're still here and when they leave this earth, they leave with dignity. Okay, so if anybody knows, I don't know his information. Some of you know from New York. If you know Professor Jeffries, some of you know who he is. If you can send his information and I can put it up and we can give donations to him, so we can have like somebody come in and help him out, or I want to make sure that he lives well while he's here. Okay, as we should. All right. All right, y'all. So any questions? Any more questions? Anybody have anything? Lena, yes, Shadow King. Thank you. He's healed? Is he healed? Just let me know, please. I know he may be healed, but let me know if there's anything I could do, or if he needs anything, please. Um, what do you think about Malachi Zior? Um, I don't think I have one thought that's just about him. Like, I feel like he represented something from an alien, from an extraterrestrial point of view that frightened the heck out of the government. When he was building pyramids, he had the Nawapians, which still exist to this day. We know big up to our sea star, Umi, Master Umi, who's also from his. She was one of his sages, one of his priestesses from his organization. I think what he created was amazing. I think what he did was frightening to the others. They did not want. Him personally, what he did, I can't say or say otherwise that whether he did something to children or not. I can't say that. You know, I've heard his sons, and I think that when sons make accusations, there may be some validity to it. But what I will say is that he represented something that was beyond what most people, brown people in this country, had access to. And I think definitely, I know he was in contact with the other extraterrestrials. Also, I know.